Both spoke about the importance of the forum and their role in funding such projects. As part of the main pillars of the Ghana subsector, the cooperative plays an important role in the value chain, and there is a need to build their capacities to understand the changing trends and dynamics of groundnut marketing both nationally and internationally. Those developments in the groundnut industry in recent years have faced numerous challenges in terms of production, but the formulation of ASPA attempts have been made to solve those problems. Yet some farmers are still battling these challenges. There's a tendency of overcrowding the groundnut industry in the Gambia, and this must be checked if investment in the industry is to be encouraged. Officials are of the belief that with greater cooperation, the issue of food crisis, and most especially the importation of basic food commodities, will soon be a thing of the past. Rohi Bite, Grts News.
The biannual Joint Donor Review and Supervision Mission for the Education Sector Thursday ended in Banjul. The interface, as Fatou Jane Radambai reports, brings together the basic and secondary education ministry, donor partners and other stakeholders in the education sector to review policies and action plans initiated and implemented in the previous year.
The 6-monthly joint donor review and the supervision staged by the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education and stakeholders ensures that all education plans are successfully implemented. The initiative is in conformity with the Paris Declaration and Accra Agenda for Action commitments on aid effectiveness, especially with regards to national ownership, use the country systems, aid alignment with the National Development Agenda, and priorities and improved coordination, managing for results and mutual accountability for better results for the education sector. The interface, since its establishment some 7 years ago, is credited with helping in the realization of education-related MDGs.
The impact has been very positive. Even though we are still faced with lots of challenges, we have seen lots of good strides made by the sector. We recently saw the introduction of the school grants, paving the way for removing all the burdens in terms of the household having to pay certain non-formal or informal fees at the school level. But beside that too, we have other initiatives like the national language programs, we have the early grade reading programs and the national assessment test, to name a few, which are having great impact in terms of delivery of quality education service, in both in teaching and learning.
This is to just mention how important the school improvement grants reform, agenda is, because it's the grant that is helping us abolish fees. And the fees affect the sector in many ways. But I've said to them, if we are able to get an additional $80 million on top of our current allocation, it doesn't have to be immediately. But if it can happen within the next 2-3 years, Gambia can be the first country in Africa in which a child can go to grade 1 and then finish his or her education at grade 12 without, the parent having to pay for fees.
The World Food Programme is the lead in-country donor agency. The resident coordinator commended MOPSI for its efforts in resource mobilization and further painted a clear picture of the activities embarked upon by the local education groups.
The local education group will continue to provide support in an effort to leverage additional resources for the sector to realize its objectives. The local education group supported fundraising through the German Backup Initiative to mobilize funds for the Education for All network to advocate for the effective use of the school improvement grants. Together, we will continue to advocate for increased budgetary allocation to the education sector from the national budget, which we are proud to state has now reached the GPE threshold of 20%.
The World Bank, a genuine partner of the ministry, seems hopeful about greater progress as the education sector appears relentless in its numerous interventions, notably the conditional cash transfer and teacher training, where great progress is said to have been registered. The tax team leader for the pledged the World Bank's continued support to the sector.
I congratulate the Ministry for its continued strong commitment to the sector, and I think other partners and other countries also see how the education sector in the Gambia is advancing.
Cognizant of the role of education in the realization of the government's development blueprint page, the Ministry of Finance remains steadfast in providing support to the education sector.
Mr. Chairman, it is important to note that the importance of aid and donor coordination in resource mobilization cannot be overemphasized. And this is because functional aid and donor coordination ensure efficient resource management and utilization as outlined in the Paris Declaration. And the government must take ownership and leadership of its development agenda through policies and programs as alluded to above. Before conclusion, I associated myself with the recognition of the accolades just mentioned by the WFP rep to the Minister and the Deputy Permanent Secretary. And I was also glad to witness also another occasion in Washington, D.C., when the Permanent Secretary himself was awarded one of the most prestigious accolades in the world by the World Bank.
Recommendations and way forward emanating from the stock-taking exercise will be taken on board for a more decisive approach to attaining Millennium Development Goals dealing with education. For GRTS News, I am Fatou Janembai.
From there, we'll take our first break. Stay tuned.
Distinguished patronage of His Excellency the President, Chair Professor Dr. Alhaji Yahya AJJ Jammeh, the organizing committee of the Miss 22nd July Scholarship Pageant proudly presents the finals of the 5th edition of the Scholarship Pageant, taking place on Saturday, December 7, 2013 at the Penchemi Hall, Paradise Suites Hotel. The scholarship pageant is geared towards promoting excellence among girls in line with Vision 2020 for sustainable growth and development. The pageant is a display of academic potentials, talent, and beauty. The theme for this year is promoting positive attitudinal change for sustainable development, the role of the youth. Support the Miss 22nd July Scholarship Pageant as the scheme will benefit all and sundry.
Welcome back. Should they stay or should they go? The central question before a traditional council of Afghan elders convening in the Afghan capital Kabul as they get ready to vote on a joint U.S.-Afghan security pact designed to prolong American troop presence. President Hamid Karzai is making the case before several community leaders, arguing that what's at stake is peace. We have more in this Deutsche Welle TV report.
Even the president is seeking their approval. Hundreds of tribal elders, regional politicians, and other dignitaries from across Afghanistan have gathered for the 4-day Loya Jirga. Their task is to lay the foundation for the time after the NATO combat mission in Afghanistan ends next year, and the country takes over full responsibility for its security. President Hamid Karzai is proposing a security deal that his government has negotiated with the U.S. It would allow 10 to 15,000 troops from the U.S. and other countries to remain in Afghanistan past the 2014 pullout date, training and advising Afghan forces for another 10 years. But there's a sticking point. The draft agreement would maintain U.S. troops' present immunity to Afghan law. It was a major hurdle in negotiations and remains a status that many Afghans resent. Taliban rebels have denounced the assembly as a U.S. ploy and are threatening to kill delegates who vote in favor of the deal.
We'll take a second break. Stay tuned.
Meningitis campaign from the 28th November to 4th December 2013. Persons 1 to 29 years will be vaccinated. Go out to health centers, pantabars, schools, markets and Johnsons to get your dose. One dose is equal to 10 years protection.
Dem leen ngeen pikiir du seytaan du jine jàngoro la suñu biir soo ko yëgee sa yaram bul toog di xaar ak diir diga fagaroo ngeen faju
meningitis.